I know that I've told you guys this before, but I was a terrible student, like absolutely terrible. And it's not even that I hated school. I think I enjoyed school. Like I really enjoyed going to school. And it's also not that I'm not smart, but like I got terrible grades even throughout college. And I was interested in certain things, but other things I was like, what's the point? Like I had a hard time focusing. I had a hard time caring about homework. Like in high school, my mom was always called in by my teachers, like about me. It's funny. I can laugh at it now. It was not funny at the time. It sucked. But I was that person. I was that girl, especially when I got to college, who questioned everything. Like I questioned my professors. I didn't understand the point of like, why do I need to learn this? And I studied pre-med in college. I wanted to be a doctor really bad. And this is hilarious, but like I really wanted, I can see this now. I could not see it at the time. And you couldn't. Another thing that is very important to know about me is I'm not saying this as a flex. In some ways it's a flex, but in most ways it's not. I'm a very convicted person and I'm so convicted that I convict myself. Does that make sense? Like no one, you can't tell me nothing. When I believe something, you can't get me off of it until I have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. And so with my degree in pre-med, I thought that I was in love with medicine and I thought that I really wanted to be a doctor because of that. Whereas I realize now I wanted to be a doctor because I was trying to fill the void of feeling worthy. And I thought if I had the title of I'm a doctor, hi, I'm Dr. Chandler, blah, 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 I thought that I would feel more worthy as a woman, truly. And that was not a conscious thought of mine. That was something that I look back now and I realize that that's what that was. Um, Nonetheless, I do actually love science and I love medicine and I love studying that sort of thing, but I have so many different beliefs now and I have such a different perspective on life. All of that to say, I remember in college because I went to a liberal arts school, we had to take, all different types of, I couldn't just take biology and pre-med. I had to take a wide variety of classes. So I had to take philosophy. That was one of the prereqs to getting a degree at the school that I went to. And I'll never forget this because I was in philosophy class. And at this point in my life, I had always thought I hated writing. I hated English. I hated anything that was abstract. I wanted distinct answers. I was the type of girl that was like, everything is black and white. There's an answer to everything. So I hated philosophy class, as you can imagine, because in philosophy class, there's no answer. It's a never ending thought process. And I argued with my professor in front of the whole class every single time I had that class. And I ended up getting kicked out. Yeah, he literally kicked me out. And I get it. Like, I understand why he did that. But he was like, you can't be in this class. Like, you are rude. You are questioning everything. You're not getting it. And he kicked me out. And I say that to you before I start this episode because it's interesting. That was the only class that I cared enough to actually argue to a matter of getting kicked out of the class. Like all the other classes, I would just sit there and roll my eyes. This one, I really cared because it was so frustrating to me. And now I'm sitting here as a leader in this space, and all I do pretty much is content philosophy, which is wild. And so I wanted to start this episode with that story because this episode is going to be different than what I usually do. I'm not going to open up this episode with a framework or even like a specific problem or a statistic. I'm going to start with a question because that is what philosophy is. It is questioning. It is being naturally inquisitive. And I would say if I were to give you a quick win just from the jump, the one thing that I want you to take from listening to this episode is where in your leadership can you get more curious? Okay, so let's get into the juice here. The question that I want to ask you is, who could you become if you allowed yourself to be seen? That's the question. Who could you become if you allowed yourself to be seen? This has nothing to do with content, by the way. This is not me saying like, what would your content look like? I'm not asking that. I'm not even asking like, how would your business grow? This is way deeper. I mean, you as a person, as a woman, as a leader, as someone with something who has some shit to say, who becomes possible when this gap, what version of you becomes possible when the gap between who you are in a room that you're leading, and that could be a virtual room, like even you on a Zoom call with your clients, or maybe you've hosted retreats, or maybe you have conventions or conferences, or you speak on stages, or even just in the room, maybe you're leading your children. You are a leader. There's a gap between who you are in the room and who you are seen in the public eye content. When that gap closes, what version of you becomes possible? So I've made 40 episodes before this one. This is episode number 41. And I've started to really look at my body of work, really look at my theories and my perspectives and my teachings, my life's work. And every single thing that I teach, every single thing that I stand for, and it's been like this for years, actually. When I look back at my old content, I've been saying the same stuff. It's just gotten stronger over time, which I'm really proud of, actually. But every single thing that I have said in this podcast in particular, and even in my content, no matter the tactic, no matter the framework or the blueprint or the story, it has all been an attempt to answer that question of like, what would happen if you allowed yourself to be seen? And so in this episode, I want to describe my philosophy, which is not a strategy, not a lesson, not a belief, my philosophy on life. Honestly, my vessel is social media. So when I say my vessel, the mechanism as to which I get my clients to have a transformation is social media. That's the work that you're doing. However, the result is not social media related. It's much larger than that. And that's what I want to talk about today. What I believe at the center of everything that I do is this statement. And it was like this morning that I was like, oh, wow, this is the statement that I have built my entire business, but also my entire life off of. And that is, a person's life expands in direct proportion to her willingness to be seen. I'm going to say it again. This is my core belief for everything that I do. A person's life expands in direct proportion to her willingness to be seen. And I mean this in a way of like, again, let's remove the social media vessel. Let's say you want to get a promotion at your corporate job. The expansion that you need in your life is going to come from your willingness to be seen at work or even in your relationships. Like, all of these things have to deal. This is just my belief. Again, this is not, there's many other beliefs out there, but this is mine. And if we're talking about social media in particular, and it comes down to your willingness to be seen, this has actually nothing to do with your strategy. Okay. Like, if you have like a strategy where I'm going to post problem awareness on this day, I'm going to post objection handling on this day, I'm not talking about that. I'm also not talking about your consistency of like, I'm going to post every single day for a month straight or whatever. I'm not talking about the clarity on your specific niche. I'm definitely not talking about your hook. It's your willingness to be seen. And I want to be clear about what I mean by quote unquote seen. I'm not talking about going viral. I'm not talking about more views. I am not talking about more followers. I'm not talking about posting more content. I'm not talking about being loud and obnoxious on the internet and like people seeing you like that. That is not what I'm referring to. I'm talking about something much simpler, actually, and much harder than any of that. Like, what I'm talking about goes beyond getting more followers or getting more clients or getting more of an obsessed audience. This is going beyond all of that. I'm talking about the version of you that exists when you're having a real ass conversation, a deep conversation, one that kind of feels a little bit uncomfortable with your real friends or maybe your family, maybe even your clients. It's like, I'm going to sidetrack here for a minute. I don't know what mentorship you're in or what space you're in, but I've experienced this a lot when I have a mentor, where they bring conversations to our spaces that they don't bring to their social media. And that is part of their leverage. Like, they literally, they see that as like, you get the conversations in this space that you don't get on my social media. And I understand that to a degree, but I'm also like, what would happen if you actually had those conversations public facing? Like, what if you did that? You would be seen on a much different level, is what I'm saying. And these conversations, like they might happen with your friends or your family or your clients, but the more underlying, the more, what am I trying to say? The common theme with these conversations is that these come from the moments when you're not trying to say something that you think you should say. You're not performing anything. You're having a normal, like a raw conversation. And that version of you is what I'm talking about, showing up in your content. Okay. So yes, this is you showing up in your content, that version of you. The one version of you that has opinions. She says things that she thinks, even if they don't make sense or they don't feel clear to her. She doesn't apologize for taking up too much space or being too much or being too bold or being, even not enough bold. Like, I think that's also on the contrary. A lot of women are like, I'm not super spicy. And it's like, okay, take up space with the fact that you're not super spicy. You know what I mean? This is like, that is the person that not even, I want to say like that's the person that the internet has been waiting for, but it's the person you've been waiting for. And it's the person you've been keeping from it, all of it. And the enemy here is not inconsistency. I can guarantee you, everyone listening to my podcast, everyone in my world, you're consistent AF. I don't have to tell you to post more. Like, that's not a conversation I have with my clients. The enemy is not also like a strategy failure. Like, the enemy is not, oh, this strategy didn't work for me. Okay. The enemy, and I've seen this now in hundreds of women that I've worked with, and even people that I just observe and study. I've also seen it in myself. Okay. Let's not forget, like, all of these teachings come from, I'm my own ideal client, but it is self-concealment. You are concealing yourself. And the reason it is so hard to see this is that it never actually feels like you're hiding yourself. You have brainwashed yourself into thinking like, I'm not hiding. And you feel like I'm being professional. Like, that's what I'm being. I'm being appropriate. I'm being careful. I'm being humble. I'm saying what I should be saying. Like, this is what I should be doing. This is what they tell me to do. But it's freaking hiding. You are hiding, and it's costing you your entire success. It's costing you what you are at. It's costing you your potential. Boom. That's what it is. It's costing you your actual true potential. And so when we talk about what hiding actually looks like and feels like, because you're going to sit here and think, well, I post every single day. I'm not, she thinks, she being you, thinks that it means not posting. That's not what I'm talking about when it comes to hiding. Hiding is writing a caption. First of all, please don't make me have this conversation with you about using ChatGPT or any sort of AI. Like, there's nothing wrong with AI until it's writing for you. I use AI in my business, but I don't let it talk for me. And I think that this is it's a real problem. And I've said this before. I also don't really even want to talk to the woman who's using AI as much as I see it, because I don't know if I can rewire some of those thoughts. Like, that's another thing. I would say hiding looks like using AI. Boom. Like, for real. And also, let's just imagine you're writing a caption, okay? And you're writing this caption, and all you care about is getting to the call to action. All you care about is how do I transition into inviting them into my world at the end? That's hiding. You're not really caring about the truth of the caption. Hiding would look like sharing one of your massive breakthroughs and then giving all the credit to the mentor, the program, the framework itself, instead of owning the fact that you did the freaking work. This is another concept of mine, another theory of mine, is you are your own hero. And that's what I coach people in their coaching when it comes to this. On the opposite end of this, you can't be a hero for anyone else. Your main job as a leader is to help people understand that they are their own hero and empower them enough to believe that themselves so that they can get to the result that they want to get to. Okay, let's get back to hiding, what hiding looks like. It would look like creating content and talking about your topic or the transformation that you lead endlessly, and almost never talking about your worldview. Your worldview is way more important than talking about I don't even know. It's hard for me to even go there because it's so superficial. And hedging is another thing where you hesitate a little bit, or you don't go there. or you'll say something like, I don't know if this is right. Or you use the word but a lot when you're talking about opinions. Or you'll say something like, this is just my experience. Like every time you're about to say something that you actually believe, you hedge and you kind of apologize. It's another thing too, like when you're doing opinionated content, if you say something along the lines of, this is an unpopular opinion, but, or like, this is just my hot take, but like you can remove that entirely. Just stand on business, tell people your opinion. But that's hiding. That's like, you are not allowing yourself to be seen fully when you're hedging like that. Or another version of this is you make your clients the main character in your content and you narrate from like that version. Like you know that you get your clients results, and so you make them the main character. And again, that might be confusing because I just told you, like, you're not anyone's hero, but at the same time, you're the guide. So you position yourself as the guide. Or it could look like being genuinely hilarious or bold or clear, like whatever your thing is, and super magnetic in a conversation off social media. And then you go home and you create a post and it sounds like it was written by ChatGPT or like a professional copywriter who has never had a strong feeling about anything a day in their life. That's what you're giving right now, that you don't have strong feelings, that you're just existing, like you're just a freaking robot. And all it is you being afraid to be seen. And I will go a little bit deeper into this because the person that I typically talk to, you are who I'm talking to. You want to be seen. Like you are not afraid. Like there's a difference between being afraid of being seen. Like you yearn to be seen, yet you're still freaking hiding. And there's a gap between who you are in real life and who you are in your content. And that is the measure of the hiding. That is the measure of all of this. And the reason that I can spot this immediately is because I can feel it. It has nothing to do with what you're saying. It has nothing to do with the way that you post. It's a feeling. When someone is fully themselves, fully there, you can feel that too. And then let's imagine like someone like sanded the edges off. I don't know. You can feel that too. Like the hiding has a texture to it almost. And your audience will feel that even when they can't name it or articulate that. Like they can feel it from you and they feel disconnected. They feel like they feel like there's distance between you and them. And it's why, you might be saying the perfect thing, but it's not going anywhere in your content, is because of that. It's like your craft is there. The human behind it is not there. You are the human. In this, the thing that took me what felt like the longest time to understand, sometimes I'm like, how long have I been doing this? And then I look at my, like anyone who's doing better than me and I'm like, damn, they've been doing this for a long time. Like that's another thing. I digress, of course, is another win that I've had in my business and my brand is like, I stopped trying to do things quickly or like get things quickly. I stopped trying to get results quickly. And I told myself like, I'm in this for the long haul. And it changed everything. So take that with you. But the one thing here that what felt like took me a long time to understand, and what I watch a lot of women like trip up over constantly is like the waiting game. Like she's waiting. You are waiting until you know who you are. You're waiting until you can figure it out. You're waiting until you can have more confidence and clarity and more results to speak about. You're waiting until you feel ready to show up with honesty or something. I don't know what you're waiting on. I mean, this is me too. Okay. I went through this. And you think like showing up is the output of the identity work. Do the inner work, find yourself, and then express yourself. That is the key. You do not discover your voice by staying quiet. I don't know if anyone's told you that. Pretty freaking obvious, but I'm going to say that one more time. You do not discover your voice by staying quiet. You discover your true voice by using it. And guess what? You have to do that very imperfectly out loud in front of people before you ever have felt clear or before you've ever felt ready. And the confidence that you are waiting for, the confidence that you want, like even the like being seen for your brilliance desire, that's a product of you showing up imperfectly. It is not a prerequisite. Every single woman I have watched come fully freaking alive in her content did not do it because she finally figured herself out behind the scenes. And then all of a sudden in her content, it's like, oh, there she is. Like this is, again, social media is a vessel. It's not the end all be all. The way that you are able to transmute, is that the right word? Yeah, translate is what the word I'm looking for. Translate yourself into your content. The way that you're able to do that time and time again, it also impacts every single area of your life. But the woman who becomes fully alive in her content, you can feel that from her. She did that because she started showing up. She started posting content before she had it all figured out. This is another one of my sayings is like, stop trying to figure it out. And I'm about to cuss. So if there's children around, earmuffs, and stop trying to figure it out and just go ahead and fuck around and find out. That's who we're being right now. That's who we need to be. It's like showing up is going to do the figuring. Expression is not the output of the identity. It is how identity is being built. And you're just not going to find yourself by thinking about it. You're not going to find yourself by thinking about who you are. You're going to find yourself. You're going to know who you are by being seen. And sometimes that hurts. And sometimes it's really fun. The cost of hiding is not just that the right people won't find you, because that's one cost. And that's usually the superficial cost is like people immediately go to like, okay, well, if I'm hiding, then how will the right people find me? And yes, that's true. That's the business cost. Yes, that is real. Like being visible is you need to be visible. Absolutely. But there's a deeper cost. You will never know who you could have been. And that is painful. Painful. If you continue to hide, you will never know who you could have been. And you will keep being just enough of yourself to stay in the game. Like you'll check the box, I'm still in the game, but not enough to actually win the mother freaking game. And then you'll chalk that up to, it's the algorithm, it's my niche is too saturated, it's the economy, it's the timing. The hiding people always have an alibi, by the way. Like they do. They always have an excuse. It's hilarious to me. There's always something like, well, it's just not working. My message isn't right. Like, like something about this, just, can you look at this and like, can you help me here? Which, yeah, obviously I do that, but there's a different vibe. You know what I mean? It's like, it is very good at making itself sound reasonable, these excuses, but it's not reasonable. And what I also know is one act of visibility, like doing this one time, like truly being visible will change something. And it's not because the post is going to go viral. Again, I'm talking about visibility. I'm not talking about virality. There's a difference. But because you are proving to yourself in your own nervous system that you can be seen and you can survive, that you can say the real shit that's on your heart and the world isn't going to end or crumble around you. You can be entirely yourself and someone is going to respond. And then you do it again. And then the identity compounds through expression the same way that trust compounds through consistency. You do not become fully visible in one day or one post. You don't even become fully visible in 30 days. But you begin in moment by moment, day by day. And the moment is always available to you. You get to decide. So who could you become if you allowed yourself to be seen? And I think you probably already know the answer because I know you have this ember, if I were to describe it, like an ember, a flickering little fire inside of you that wants to turn into like a massive bonfire, if you will. It's an ember and it's somewhat lit inside of you and it wants to turn into this massive fire and you know that it exists there and you want to blow shit up. You know the answer. You know who you could become. And you ache for it. Like it's like you feel like you're being eaten alive on a constant daily basis of, I have untapped potential and I don't want wasted potential. I want to experience my potential. I want to live it through. I want to feel what it would feel like. And you've known this for a long time. The question for you is whether or not you're willing to let her out. Everything that I teach, every framework, every episode, every post that I make, every coaching call, everything that I do is in service of this one thing, making you visible AF as the woman that you actually freaking are. And along the way, you evolve. It's like, if you've listened to enough episodes, you've heard me talk about the IP engine, intellectual property engine. That's not a content tool. It's how you excavate what's actually yours to say, first of all, actually yours, originality. Don't even get me started. And then you stop borrowing other people's ideas and you express your own. That is a tool. The personality posts that I do, the personality work, the perception work, all of that is not about finding your viral content. You will go viral from that content. Absolutely. It's also not about the aesthetic of what you post. It's about learning how you naturally attract people and choosing to leverage that instead of hiding it. It's about learning yourself for the personality traits that are addictive. The identity work that I do, which is called icon identity, that's not about positioning you. Sometimes I hate that talk. Like, it's how you're positioning yourself. Like, bro, what? What are we talking about? That feels so manipulative. It feels so manufactured. Icon identity is about deciding who you are deciding to be and then showing her out loud on purpose over and over again, taking up all the space. And the Takeover Mastermind, which is my 6-month mastermind, that is where this philosophy becomes practice. There is no other space where I teach this because I need time with you. You need to understand the learnings behind this. You need to understand the philosophy. You need to put in the work. The Takeover Mastermind comes with trainings that are very specific to this. It comes with an entire playbook. And it's not where you're learning how to post content. It's where you learn how to never hide again. Never. And inside of the Takeover Mastermind, this is also where, when you do the resources, when you understand the trainings, when you go through the blueprint, the playbooks, whatever you want to call it, there's action items tied to every single resource. And it's going to, this is going to require you to take action. I'm not going to just be the coach where you take notes on shit, especially in my proximity spaces. You're going to do the action items. You're going to bring them to me, and I'm going to help you find clarity around that. I'm going to help you double down on those things. So if this episode hit you in the gut or like made you feel some sort of way, maybe it's like some part of you recognize this gap that I'm describing, I know exactly how to close it. I know exactly how to help you close it. And I know that because I've done it with myself and I've done it with women again and again and again and again. And this is ongoing work. I'm going to be the first to tell you, like, there is no arrival, because once you understand this philosophy, you will become addicted to it. This is personal development. This is self-discovery on steroids. And I've watched the women in my world like become more themselves every single time. And on the contrary, I've also watched women come into my world and immediately leave because they can't handle it. Visibility is not something that they really truly desire. And that's okay too. But this is going to be the thing where you're like, whew, wow. And that all takes place inside of the Takeover Mastermind. It's a 6-month commitment. It is a 4-figure investment. Applications are open. If you want a spot in this room, there are a couple spots available. I put a cap on this room because of the level of attention that I give. I'm always studying like community and community growth and sisterhood. Like, I really am. That's part of what I study just because it's fascinating to me. Like that cult-like community thing. And yes, I believe that you can have that in large numbers, but I also know the power behind connecting with someone in an intimate space. And so I also create this space to be limited in the amount of seats that are provided, because I want you to connect with the women in this room. And I will teach you how to do that. I will encourage it. I will empower it. It is something that inevitably happens. And I do think that that's why I have a really high renewal rate. Like, the majority of the women in this space are on their 2nd, 3rd round, some going on their 4th. So I will drop the link to fill out the application. And when you fill out the application for the takeover, you can hear from me in 24 to 48 hours on the acceptance of the application. One more thing before we end this. I started this episode with a question, which was, who could you become? Who could you become if you were willing to be seen? So take that with you, not as a rhetorical question either. That's a real question. And if you want, I would love for you to slide in my DMs and tell me your answer to that. Slide in my DMs on Instagram. And I would love for you to answer that question. Send me a voice message if you want to. Just type it out. I'm just going to congratulate you for even like contemplating that and like taking it and taking action on it. That's a big deal. But the answer is not abstract. It is specific. And the version of you who says things that you are actually thinking, the things that are actually on your heart, is also the version of you who has to pay attention to what you're thinking and what's on your heart. And this is the version of you who's going to post powerful shit. You're going to be seen for your brilliance. You're going to be known for your wisdom and your perspective. What a gift. What an amazing, fun life to create a legacy because you have perspective on the world. You have perspective on life in your specific niche. And you started leading before anyone gave you permission to lead. You just did it because you know you are a naturally born leader. And you trust your own voice before anyone else does. That's the major key alert. Do you trust your own voice? Do you trust what you believe? Is it your work? That's another thing. Like when we talk about, I'm so talkative today, Jesus. But when we talk about originality, you will trust your voice more when you have original ideas. And again, I'm not saying like everything has to be original, but what have you decided to believe because it's worked for you? That's what you need to be teaching, not taking recycled ideas because it sounds good or because it worked for Sally over there and she's making a lot of money. But you trust your own voice because you've confirmed that it's worth trusting. And that's conviction. And you can turn that on right now. That's not a future version of you. That is a present tense decision to make. And that is a present tense version of you. And it's just going to keep getting better and better. Okay, I'm done talking. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah. See you soon.